are back. It is episode 174 of the Metal Roundtable. I am Metal Rob, and with me, as always, is the great
Carcass John. And
today I am Scott Raging Waters.
yes,
Since my name changes every week.
Raging. I love it.
What else can you have when you're gonna?
Doesn't change in my phone. It's always Scott Raging Waters.
What else should it be when you're supposed to have Hirax on your show?
Oh, it's got to be Raging.
Exactly.
Of course.
Damien Hair Metal is here. We are live, obviously, but we're having a little bit of difficulty getting our guest on. So he is trying to log on as we speak.
Tony Clem is here.
Got a little bit of an issue going there, but we will get that ironed out. And so we'll do some quick shout outs. I think we can talk about this. Can we talk about this?
Absolutely.
What?
Okay.
That looks like a record.
It is.
Wow.
I want to shout out Matt Hunt at Brutal Planet Records. I just got this in the mail. One of my very favorite things is getting this stuff in the mail that Scott and I get to work on. And I got my copy, so I'm pretty stoked about that. But like I say before, nobody gives a shit about that. Here's what they give a shit about. Watch this. Are you ready? Hang on.
Yep.
With the click of a button, I can just add Metal Legends to the show. Here we go. Look at that.
Ta-da!
Boom. There he is.
What's happening, guys? Sorry
Hey,
about
Katon.
trying to work out a bunch of stuff at the same time while we do this, but how you guys doing?
Good.
Good,
And no
man.
worries.
How's it going?
Good, man. Just trying to. We got a gig we're working on the East Coast with Hirax and the Rods.
Legends.
Sounds like a road trip to me.
Yeah, should be really good actually. How you guys doing? What's up?
What's up?
Awesome.
Man.
We just started, so
And we're just sort of shouting it out. In fact, Katon, I'm going to shout out somebody you know quite well, Daniel Sawblade Shaw in Houston. He's in fact, I spoke to him last night, and he said to wish you well. In fact, he and I were talking about that show that you played at Walters on Washington.
Oh, that was
And
awesome.
I think it was 2009, but but it was an add-on show, wasn't it? Because didn't you play?
Like we did a couple of shows there. That place was awesome. Even though it was small, I loved that venue.
People were swinging from the rafters. I remember that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep. Anyway, he sends his well wishes, and in fact, I peeled this off the wall because, of course, I had to brag a little bit because I was there.
That's
but anyway,
awesome. Tell Daniel I said hello. The guy's a great artist, man. Really.
Yeah, we'll do. And boy, his all his hard work is starting to pay off, so it's good to see.
He deserves it.
Yep, sure does. So,
Whoa. You guys are badasses, man. Like seriously. Even just seeing you guys record collections and post on all these sites, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, is just awesome to see that people share the same passion, you know?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, man. We've got people all over watching us. Australia, Indonesia.
Wow.
Indiana.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's jump into the show. Unless Scott, you've got a quick shout out you want to do?
I'll do a quick one. I've been stuck for weeks listening to live stuff, but got a couple of cool live bootlegs that I picked up recently. Been listening to Transmission Impossible. This thing's fantastic. This one I've been in my CD player for a week now, but this is a Nectar live anthology from the 70s, 74 to 76.
Wow. Nice.
I still haven't all the way through it. And then one more. Check this out. This is another one that I've been playing a lot recently, but this is Judas Priest. It's all live radio broadcasts from, was it 76, 74 through 2002.
That's
So,
awesome. That's
yeah.
very awesome. That would be those periods are amazing for Priest.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
that 84 show on the Defenders of the Faith tour that they put on the deluxe edition of that, I recorded that off the radio. That was very early Metal Rob. I'd only been into metal a couple of years at that point, and that was a game changer for me to record that off the radio. God.
Those were the good ones. Those were the
Lucky
good
enough to
ones.
see that tour. Yep. I was lucky enough to see that tour a couple times.
Wow.
So yeah, that was awesome. I think Great White opened up.
Yeah, I pulled this.
Wow.
I pulled this one out of the fires and listened to it.
That thing's amazing. It's so fun doing those records back in the day because we did those like in 2 days, like a couple of days of recording. Gene Hoglan was such a phenomenal drummer even back then. Even when he was younger, he was such a good drummer. So he did most of those takes in one take,
Yeah, we had him on the show, and we didn't get quite back to the Phantasm era.
Yeah, he's pretty proud of that. I mean, it's like even after all these years, he looks back at that very fondly. And I remember even back then he was wearing ankle weights when he was doing those recordings. But most people don't realize he still wears ankle weights to this day, and he plays double kick like that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a maniac.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I was kind of surprised. I was kind of surprised he left Testament that was a paycheck for him. So Dark Angel must have some big things in plan.
Yeah, I think with Gene, though, he's always been one of those guys who wants to do a lot of stuff. And I think with Testament, he kind of did what he wanted to do. And I think he had other ideas of stuff he, wanted to move on to. I think he's going to be in great bands until the day he's done. The guy's just such a phenomenal musician. But it doesn't hurt getting Lombardo in there either. So,
No.
I mean,
yeah,
well, he'd be at the top. He'd be at the
okay drummers,
Yeah, he'd be at the top of my list if I were starting a band. He would be on the top of my list of drummers to call.
Definitely, he'd be one of them for sure. Top 5, easy.
Hey, Nanoy Paderwan from a band called Pagan Fire in the Philippines is chiming in, and he says one of his favorite records is Bombs of Death. So I agree with him.
Thanks. I appreciate that. That's the stuff that keeps me fueled up to keep going, like all those fans that appreciate the early stuff and even up until now, even the demos, they just kick me in the ass. We're getting ready to go into the studio at the end of this month, and we've just been working our tails off trying to get this stuff together just because the response in the last, after 3 years of pandemic, people are really hungry for music. So it's time for us to get some new stuff out.
Cool.
Absolutely. So tell us about the new album then.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go back with Matoyer. I mean, I've been working with Bill Matoyer since we first recorded Bombs of Death. That was the first track we did for Metal Blade
Massacre.
Yeah, the Metal Massacre record. And it's just always a pleasure working with him. But he's also one of those guys who works us hard because he knows what we're capable of. So he doesn't take it easy on us at all. And so we're going to do probably anywhere between 10 to 12 new songs minimum. And it's definitely, I would say it's in the vein of Hirax, but it's also a little bit more progressive just because we've got some guys that, have those elements in their style too. So we're trying to combine that with the Hirax style, and it's coming along really well. So yeah, I just can't wait to get in there. It's one thing to talk about records, but get them recorded so people can hear them, because you can talk all you want all day, but really people got to hear them and make their decision on what they think.
So who's in the band these days?
Well, we have on drums Danny Walker. He's been around for a while. A guy named Chris Aguilera on bass guitar, and Neil Metcalf on lead guitars and rhythm guitars. And Neil's really young. He's like 27. Stayed in touch with me through the whole pandemic, and we were basically face chatting, daily, just talking about, getting this thing together. And I had actually seen him because I was working at the Rainbow Bar and Grill on the Sunset Strip, and we have bands upstairs like 3 nights a week playing, and this guy came in and played one night, and I was just like, man, if I need another musician, this would be the guy that I would talk to. And he just kind of stayed on me. We kept in touch, and over the pandemic, he's like, I'm going to drive from Tennessee out to Los Angeles, and we're going to start this band up again. And he did. So he packed up all of his stuff in he had a small car, put his half-stack Marshall in there, and drove all the way to Los Angeles. And we just started doing it. It's been really good. So
that's perfect. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be, though? Aren't you supposed to pack a car and go record a metal record?
You got to be hungry. You know that. I mean, it's tough doing this though. Like a lot of people don't realize that you guys do, but a lot of people don't realize being in an underground band is not easy. It's not. You know, you're not rich. It's a lot easier to do this stuff when you have plenty of money. Like when you look at bands like Slayer, even though they definitely put their time in, there's money there that keeps those bands going. You know, and so when you're kind of an underground band and you're living paycheck to paycheck or whatever you're doing, it's just a lot tougher. So. You know, once you get something stable together, you just try to work your tail off and hang in there. And, you know, I still love this music. That's really the main reason I'm still doing it. It's all about the love for the music and the fans. And you know, it just kicks your ass when you go out on the road and you meet them and they humble you, you know, like meeting these kids. Sometimes there's kids that have been crying when they meet us and it just blows you away because it means that much to them, you know?
Right.
So, It's motivated me all these years, and it's still motivating me. I mean, I'll be 59 in September, and I still love doing this.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
get that.
I echo your comments there because I still, at almost 53, I'll be 53 this weekend. When I meet the bands, when I met you at Metal Swap Meet, you know, the one right before the pandemic, or maybe 2 years before.
Yeah.
It was like you still walk up. I was nervous as I could be, and you were so nice. And literally all I did was like, shit, man, that's Katon from Hirax. I didn't know you were going to be there.
Wow.
And I was just a couple booths down. You were on the corner DJing, and I was 2 or 3 booths down next to Martin from used to be at Metal Blade.
Yeah.
And I rolled down and got a picture, and the one you saw. And so it's still, you know, it's still nerve-wracking even as an old guy to meet the people that you've grown up with. And so I think it's cool that you're respectful to the fans and it still impacts you what they have to say. But I have a question.
Go for it.
I did a little Facebook stalking right before the show, so I sent you a friend request. Okay. But I was able to see a picture of a backyard party that you guys played. Yeah. Please tell me about that, because I've heard legendary stories about backyard parties back in the day, but this was just a few days ago, right?
Yeah. It's insane. Okay, so I always had these ideas because I love blues music as well. Like that's, you know, besides metal and all of that, I love the blues. So a lot of my heroes like Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, they would do house parties, or they would just play on the porch, you know, wherever they could play, they would play. And I was during the pandemic, you know, it's back to that, but I just thought people are going to need, you know, something that where they're outside, they can save some money because so many people have been broke, you know, or weren't working. And what's the best way to get back to the people? And like even these backyard parties, this was the second one we did. The first one was amazing. Like 700 kids showed up in this really small backyard. So then we just did this last one where we had a space that held 1,700 people, and it was filled all the way up to the, like, there were these 2 long driveways. It's a mansion in Lincoln Heights, which is basically Los Angeles, and it overlooks the whole skyline of downtown Los Angeles. So from the backyard in the background, you just see the Los Angeles skyline, you know. And in some of these neighborhoods like East LA or Lincoln Heights, the cops have bigger things to do than to deal with heavy metal people playing loud music. I mean, that's not even a big deal to them. They got other stuff that's going on that's way more serious. So we've been able to pull off these backyard parties with thousands of kids showing up. You know, like this last one was unreal. Like seriously, we couldn't even count. There were so many heads there. But it was also great because there's kids coming to these shows that can't even go to the nightclubs. We do all ages shows. You know, it's not the most legal thing, but like I said, I think cops have bigger stuff to do than deal with kids that are in a backyard listening to heavy metal. So it went great. Like this last one, there were no fights. We had a mixture of crossover kids and heavy metal kids and punk kids hanging out together, and everybody was getting along great. You know, I mean, times have changed. As you guys know, when we were younger, punks and metalheads didn't get along. Like it surprises kids when you tell them that nowadays. But back in our day, there was fights and all this kind of crazy shit. But I think people are a lot more open-minded now. Like, it's no big deal to listen to Motorhead or GBH. You know, people are way more open-minded than they were back in the 70s and early 80s. So it's just been a pleasure to be able to do these backyard parties because we feel like we're giving back to our community, which is really important because that still supports us to this day. Like, even if we weren't playing bigger places in, say, like South America and going to Japan, we still stayed grounded, and I'm really proud of that. I mean, it really means a lot to me because I was one of those kids that went to those backyard parties back in the 70s and 80s, and I want to carry on those traditions, and I think people really need it. I mean, seriously, right now in this world, everybody needs a good time, and everybody needs music, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
One of my favorite Hirax moments on here, when you stop the middle of the song, you're like, no fighting. I still laugh every time I hear it.
Yeah, it's, you know, for me, it's just like ridiculous when you go to a concert. Why would there need to be any fighting? Physical fighting, you know, like
Right.
You're going to argue, it should be about bands, like, you know, and still be civil about it. Like if you like Priest or Maiden, because that's always a big argument, you know, if you like Motorhead and you like Venom, that's always been a big argument. But you know, I just think at the end of the day, you should be able to agree and disagree and still be cool about it, you know?
Absolutely.
Well,
hey,
I
pulled.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, I remember that show. In fact, I was going to ask you too. I know that when you played that show in Houston, there was a death metal band. I think it was Daniel's death metal band, wasn't it? War Master and PLF and HRA. So you had crusty punks, death metal people, and then Hirax, and everybody. I mean, everyone swung from the rafters. It didn't matter what you were.
Yeah.
But I kind of remember you playing in Austin too. And did you play with Bruce Corbett and Warbeast?
You know, we've been through there a few times, and it's, you know, sometimes it gets a little blurry. I think I think we might have played with him. That, you know, Bruce was a really great guy. I mean, that for me, Texas means a lot because we've been through and we always had shows there. You know, like that's one of the places we'll probably go back sooner than, you know, others when we get this record done, because we've always loved going through Texas, and we, you know, try to do 3 or 4 shows going through there. But yeah, we've done Austin, San Antonio, Houston's amazing. You know, it's always cool when you show up to a show and there's kids hanging out waiting for you. And even after the shows, like first time we went through Houston, Daniel was one of the guys that was blowing fire out in the parking lot after we got done. We're like, this guy's Gene Simmons, you know. But you know, we just really enjoy when it's people that are down to earth. You know, we try to be the same way, and we just try to give them the music and get the, you know, the memories, because it's, you know, part of this thing is about having good times and memories, and that's basically what we try to do.
So I was going through my collection since we were going to talk a little bit about record collecting, and I told Rob, I said, I think I have like 6 or 7 Hirax singles, and then I realized I have a lot more than 6 or 7 Hirax singles.
Yeah. That's amazing. And you have the first, the Blasted in Bangkok.
Yeah, there's some of these.
That was the Blasted in Bangkok was done by a label from Switzerland, and the guy only did like 1,000 of them. And to this day, I wish I would have saved more of them. You know, sometimes you never think when those records come out how rare they're gonna be. You know, but that's one of those rare ones.
There's a band called Malakaya that we recently did a reissue of. They're an LA band as well. And their first album, they had piles of them, and in the 2000s, thought, nobody's going to want these, and tossed them all in a dumpster. Now they're selling for, you know, $400, $500 a piece.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, you just never
know.
You never think about that, you know. Like, and then years later, you're like, why didn't I save more of those? You know.
This I always thought this one's weird because it has a spaz on the back, but it's got your cover on it.
Yeah, those guys were interesting. They were kind of like Napalm Death, where they contacted us and they were like, hey, we'd like to, do you have any demo stuff laying around? I go, well, there's some stuff from Blasted in Bangkok. There were three songs that we recorded. 2 were on that vinyl, and then 1 didn't get released until we finally did the 10-inch, which the 10-inch is really rare as well. Most of those records, if we're lucky, we did like 1,000 of those. You know, the 10-inch is on white vinyl, and there's only 1,000 of those.
And
there you go. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that stuff, like I said, I wish I had copies now, but you just, for me, it's always been about, even when I'm down to my last copy, and I have sometimes sent people my last copy because I just feel like they're a fan and they're into it, even though I like to have at least one copy of each record we do. Like, I think most musicians are that way for your own archives, but I have sent out, and I don't even have the CD of Raging Violence and Hate, Fear, and Power, which is really rare. I actually used that to get that repressed, and I never got it back. And when we first got that CD, the Not Dead Yet CD, that thing it was like new. There you go. It was new technology. So Metal Blade only gave us 4 copies, one for each band member. We didn't even know what CDs really were yet when they gave us that CD. And
so what 88?
Somewhere around there, yeah. And I don't even have a copy of it myself.
This is a reissue. This one is oh gosh, I can't even read that. Thrash something records. Thrash Corner.
What's cool about that though is it's enhanced. So when you're playing it, if you have a DVD player, at the end it's got some really great footage on it. A lot of people don't know that, but it's an enhanced CD.
Nice.
Yeah, anyhow, then a lot more nice.
You even have the Chaos and Brutality single. Polish release only. Yeah, that's probably one of the very rarest singles. Yeah, I've always been impressed with your collection, Scott. Got to give you credit on that, my friend.
And then I think I bought this one directly from you.
That's from Malaysia. You've got it all. I think. Do you have the Sodom 7-inch too? The Sodom split.
Dude's got everything.
You are ridiculously badass.
Well, yeah.
How about the Violator split?
That one too, man. Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on here?
This is one of my favorite Daniel Sawblade pictures because it's got crusty kids, the guys with verbal abuse, Venom, Nasty Savage, back patches, and they're all together, all doing their thing.
He was one of my favorite artists to work with because his passion it's just like seeps through whatever he does. Like, even if you look at that artwork, that guy's got complete passion for what he does.
I've got a whole wall of it in my main living room here. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if you're ever in Texas, you'd love it. His house is a freaking museum of metal. That's Carcass right here.
I figure if you guys all know each other, all 3 of your collections are ridiculous. So, but that's all.
I think John's got us all beat though. His entire house, the way that one room looks like right there, that's his whole house. And it's two stories.
I love that stuff though. I see, the thing is, usually when I'm on the road and I get to go to people's houses, I don't have enough time to look through their stuff. Like that was one of my ideas. I was talking to this producer in Australia about doing it. Hopefully it'll happen where I get to go around to different countries and cities and visit other record collectors and have them show some of their prized possessions. That was like an idea that I wanted to do. And hopefully one day I'll be able to do that. Because when I've traveled, like I was in Argentina, I went to this guy's house. His record collection was insane, so like, as you go around the world, there's guys like us in every country, every corner. There's people like us with amazing record collections. And depending on where you're at, it's different pressings, different languages on some of the records. Like when I've been in South America, finding records down there, like I have an Iron Maiden Killers record. It's all in Spanish. The label's all Spanish. It's just really nice to see stuff like that, especially when you're used to the U.S. pressings.
Yeah, I live for stuff like that. I love always finding the oddball stuff, and I pulled a handful of just because I was listening to them today. But one of my favorites in my collection is this one, which is a Japanese. It's Blue Oyster Cult Aerosmith split.
Wow, that's insane.
As a promo single only, released in Japan, New York's heavy metal sound, released in 1974.
That is awesome. See, we don't have enough time for all this shit, man. You guys are going to be pulling out all kinds of crazy shit. I got to start eyeballing some of my stuff. I got something for you. I think you guys will appreciate this.
Okay, let's go.
This is like a promo.
Scorpions.
Yeah. It's got Joe Lynn Turner's old band on it. Fandango. And when I picked it up, I was just stoked because it has Steam Rock Fever on it. And I love anything with Uli John Roth on it is for me.
Same here, brother. I love Uli.
Yeah, he's for me. It's like him, guys like Gary Moore. I lose my mind. You know?
Yeah,
awesome.
I've been desperately searching for the last Uli Roth Scorpion 7-inch single that I'm missing. Japanese single that I'm missing.
Which one's that?
I have to look now.
Speaking of Uli John, have you heard his new box set where he does all old Scorpion stuff?
I haven't heard it yet. Is it good?
He's got Oni Logan and some other guys singing. It's really impressive, man.
What do you guys think of that Thin Lizzy 8 CD box set?
Oh,
Scott?
right here.
Scott.
This?
You mean this one?
You mean that, Katon?
That thing is so beautiful. And did you also pick up the live from the Opera House? Did you get that yet? Yeah,
I have that on vinyl, an older version. You're talking about the Australian?
Yeah, they reissued it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't pick up the new one. I have a copy though.
When you get a chance, it's insane. The production, they've remastered it. It's seriously one of. I mean, the funny thing with with Thin Lizzy is that it's almost hard to find super bad recordings of them live because they were such a great live band. But this reissued, remastered version of the Live at the Opera House is unbelievably, incredibly done. Like the production's amazing. Gary Moore's on it. He's on fire. Because I've heard plenty of bootlegs over the years of that show, but the way they redid it is unbelievable. So if you guys get a chance, definitely check that out.
So I'm missing the Japanese pressing of "He's a Woman, She's a Man."
That would be amazing to get a hold of. Do you have the single? Do you have the single of All Night Long? I think is it a 10-inch or is it a 7-inch? Because I know there's a 7-inch for All Night Long, or it's a 10-inch, or something like that. Really rare.
Yeah, when you have, I have a 7-inch of All Night Long. Yes.
You are a serious freak,
dude.
Yeah, well,
the guy's unstoppable.
It's kind of noticeable. Sometimes I'll be doing little search on the internet, and Scott's collection will come up with certain pieces, and I'm like, I like this guy. I like this guy. The more I see his collection, it's almost like he's a brother from another mother.
I just like to, whenever they start showing off their badass collections, because theirs are both more badass than mine. I've got more CDs than records by 10 times, but then I have to go get my original Soundhouse tapes and shut everybody down.
That's one of those. I call it a cornerstone. Like if you have that, you're doing pretty damn good. Especially.
And I just accidentally happened onto it, and I won't go into that whole story now. I've told it before on the show, but one of the things that I dig about collecting, and I've even gotten into, tapes and stuff, is what pressing is this? I have no idea. Cassette.
Yeah, that one's always been a mystery to me too. I've seen it around before, but
bootlegs and stuff.
That's a Polish company that does those, Rob.
But then my very favorite thing to find, promos. That's Widowmaker.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those too. I love those things too.
Promos, but this I have no idea what this is.
Looks killer though.
But I can't wait to check it out. I cannot wait.
That's akin to our Iron Rainbow story. So Rob gets this huge collection of tapes. and he's got them out in his garage, and I just zeroed in on this thing that said Iron Rainbow, had a plain cover. I didn't even think, and I said, well, let's drop it in and see what it sounds like. Holy smokes, it blew us away. And then we went on an Iron Rainbow bender, and we're trying to compile everything that they ever did, which isn't a lot, but it's at least 8 songs, I believe.
Well, I feel like we're pulling out more stuff, all of us. And by the way, CDs are nothing to laugh at, because CD collections, if you've got good stuff in them, you got good stuff in them. It's like vinyl. I love vinyl. Don't get me wrong, but I love all formats.
Yeah.
So I've just like you. I'm sure I've got some CDs over here that people have never seen, because that even there's rare pressings of CDs as well. So.
Oh yeah.
I never discount CD collections because you can go through people's stuff and be blown away. Like you guys got me. You guys got me wanting to reach all over the house for stuff. That's awesome. Give me a
Hirax.
second.
Yeah. Now
Here's one of my favorites right here. I don't know if you can see this. Let me.
Van Halen.
Van Halen.
It's a box set of the demos.
Oh yeah, I've got one of those.
Yeah, this thing. For anybody who's a Van Halen freak,
I don't have that.
this is amazing. I'm trying to watch my language, but
That's okay.
The Gene
You're
Simmons
right.
demos are my favorite, but I have that very same box set, and it is insane.
yeah,
How you hear pieces of all the songs since we know what their catalog was,
yeah,
and then you hear pieces of songs and other songs, and it's crazy.
it's
So what's it
amazing.
called?
It's called Firestarter. I highly suggest getting it because it'll blow your socks off. Because when you're listening to it, like he said, there's pieces of songs that you're like, oh, they took that. Even Mean Streets, you'll hear stuff from Mean Streets. And, the more you listen to it, you can tell that they took some parts that they weren't happy with at the time and then they reworked them. But
I think my favorite song is Out of Space, and that was on their last record that they did with David Lee Roth. But that is actually track 6 on the Gene Simmons demo, and it's got a different title to it.
Yeah.
But I love that song. I love the breakdown. I love the lead that Eddie plays on that. But man, that thing has got bits and pieces from all over the map, all over the Van Halen world.
You know your stuff for sure. My favorite track is "She's the Woman."
Yes.
Yeah.
"She's the Woman" is amazing. But I also like compilations. I'm sure Scott probably has all this, but I love comps. So
man, I love that one.
Yeah, this one's got some good stuff on it. It's just hard to see if the glare is too much on here. But
No, I can see it, but I don't have that one.
I'm surprised you don't because you're the man. But comes with an amazing poster in it too.
Yeah.
So I like all that crap, even though I don't have enough room to put up all these posters. But and this one's a pretty cool one. I found this when I was on tour in I think Mexico.
Oh wow!
So let me ask you a question.
On it? Wait, what picture track is that, Katon?
It has. I think it's.
Let me ask you a question. When you
Eternal Dark. Eternal Dark.
So when you get an album with a poster in it or something in it like that, I can't take it away from it's got to stay in the album.
Yeah, I do the same. And you know what's really weird about me that most people don't know? I have no autographs on my records. Even though I have a lot of people that I love, like probably the only guy I'd let autograph a record would probably be Keith Richards because I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan. But, I just always have been weird about that. I don't know what it is. I just have never had anybody sign my records. That's just a weird, quirky thing about me. I don't know if I feel like the album cover is getting ruined or something. I don't know, but this is another one of my favorites. It's a promo for Leonard Skinner.
Oh wow,
that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's got Down South Jukin', That Smell, Lend a Helping Hand, and Call Me the Breeze.
Wow.
And I love 12-inch singles. Like that's one of my soft spots. 12-inch singles or EPs, I freak for. There's actually a Thin Lizzy one I'm looking for that was like a promotional white label copy. It's always funny when you have a friend that has it and you're like, damn, I wish I had that.
Scott?
I'm looking to see. I can't remember. I mean, my Thin Lizzy collection is stupid, so I can't remember what I have. Do you remember what song it is?
It's like 4 songs on a 12-inch. Like I think Cowboy Songs on there. It's it's some of their most known songs, but I'm like you, I'm a freak for Lizzy. So
yeah, my grail for Lizzy is an actual copy of New Day. I don't have that one. The New Day 1971, the New Day single.
I haven't seen it. You know what I got to pull for you since you're a Thin Lizzy fan. This is one of my holy grails. Now you got me pulling out tons of records, but let's see here.
Yeah, that New Day, it's got a cover art by I forgot the guy's name all of a sudden. Don't you hate that? I get on camera and I get stupid. The guy who did he's done Nazareth and son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, he's reminiscent of the Roger Dean stuff, but it's a little more aggressive than that.
Right. Rodney Matthews.
Right.
So it was 1971, so it was early Rodney Matthews cover.
You have you have that tower recording of Thin Lizzy, don't you?
Oh yeah, that was my stomping grounds. I grew up in Philadelphia. I saw a lot of concerts there. Didn't see that, unfortunately.
That thing's amazing.
I saw Dio and Twisted Sister at the Tower Theater.
Here's a promo of Thunder and Lightning.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like I said, for those guys, but I think I'm getting to it. Here we go. I'm just going to pull all this crap. All right. I know you have this, Scott, because if you don't have this, that would be horrible.
Yeah, I got that. That's awesome.
Okay, so here's the one that I really love. This is a
four-track.
Dedication, right?
Yeah, it's a Greek pressing from Greece, and it has the little
the hype sticker.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I always, because the Dedication was such a great compilation.
Yes.
So to be able to get this and have the song Dedication on vinyl, for me was pretty big deal because I'm a huge Lizzy fan.
Everybody's jumping up to pull shit.
I would be gone too long. I would be upstairs. I would be in the other room. I'd be.
You know that's what's great about this though, record collectors, man. It's like you kind of help each other out by doing that, anyways, because it gives you ideas. And
there he goes.
This is Dedication 7-inch single.
That's badass. Where was that pressed at?
This is, I believe, German. No, UK. Sorry, it was in the UK.
That's amazing. I haven't even seen that. I'm still pissed. What's that?
That's a sealed promo of Nawabum 79 on cassette.
Wow. So you're also a cassette collector.
I've got a few. I've got a couple.
Well, here, since everybody's getting out of their seat, hang on.
That's just
let's do it.
Hey,
dude,
I forgot to ask
that's beautiful. I have some cassettes, but
I was going to ask you, have you ever? We were talking earlier about
every space in my house is used even behind each door, and so I've got heavy metal behind the door. I've got rock and roll upstairs. I've got pop and 80s Tangerine Dream soundtrack stuff in another room, and it depends on the system because I have systems that are better suited for metal, better suited for rock, better suited for.
Where's your Osric Tentacles at?
You got. That means you guys are some serious cats because I'm the same way. I have certain systems like I have a cassette tape player that's set up for my cassettes because I've got some cassettes that like I was digging in this store and that's my favorite going into a store when I have like at least 2 hours and just getting into it like digging and digging. Yep.
So I love it. It's relaxing for me.
Yeah, I was in the store and they had like hundreds of cassettes. I dug through all of them. And when I got to the bottom, there was a cassette of Let There Be Rock, mint condition, UK pressing, and there was a cassette of Power Age UK pressing, and they both had the tracks that were taken off for the US versions. So Crab Sodium Blues was on Let There Be Rock, and Cold Hearted Man was on Power Age. And for me, that's huge because I'm a Bon Scott freak. Just basically bands like UFO, Thin Lizzy, AC/DC, and you guys know the drill. Those bands, I freak.
UFO is one of my favorites too. Thin Lizzy is top of my.
Yeah, I love it. To me, it's glorious whenever those records are on. If they're being played in my house, I'm in heaven.
So I was going to ask you, find these from overseas. Those clamshell cases.
That's insane.
With the cassettes in them.
So I was going to ask you, have you ever seen the Metal Obsession DVD?
No, I haven't.
It's basically they get a bunch of metal vinyl collectors from around the world, and they interviewed them and they put it all together, and it's pretty cool. I'll send you one. I'll get your address when we're done, and I'll send you
Yeah,
one.
yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, also,
pretty old, but-
the collecting thing is also about helping other collectors. You know, like sometimes people are looking for stuff or they don't know that a certain band, you know, like I like the family tree. So, like, even with AC/DC, that's why finally finding a copy of this Starfighters record
Oh wow.
Mhm.
was really important to me because Steve Young, Malcolm Young's nephew, and Angus Young's nephew plays on this record. He plays on the first two Starfighter records, and
wow.
this Starfighters record is actually really good. So it's I kind of like the family trees and like you said promos. I mean, come on, that's heavenly whenever you come across a great promo.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Agreed. And I'm
Here's
back
another
to
one that's
my-
one of my favorite bands that doesn't seem to be discussed anymore, but Grand Funk.
Dude, are you trying to take this to the next level? Because we're gonna go crazy with that stuff.
Oh no, believe me, the first album I bought when I was 13 years old, I bought two. I bought Black Sabbath, and I bought Grand Funk Shining On.
Yeah.
And
Hell
then there was Deep Purple and another Black Sabbath, and there was Aerosmith and another Grand Funk, the Red Album.
I see why we all see eye to eye now.
Yeah, I mean, and I still have them upstairs. Yes, I do what you do. I keep them in a special location and in order, blah blah blah. But
Totally.
But anyway,
I love all that stuff also because it's like those set the foundation. I mean, Grand Funk in their time, like the kids don't know, but I also like that.
I mean,
I also like it because the kids don't know. So when I'm shopping, I can find a single from Grand Funk for real cheap, even though to me it's worth way more. But it's just so cool that these kids have no clue about how great Grand Funk was. Even the
how
first
big they were.
The first, they were huge. But the first album to me, like everybody has different ones. Some people like the Red Album or the Orange record, whatever you want to call it, the Coin. But for me, the first album means a lot to me. That record I find to be phenomenal.
Was it Too Late or Time's Up or trying to remember
On
the name
Time.
of the album? On Time. Thank you.
On Time. Oh, somebody! I caught a glimpse of Black Oak, Arkansas, and my first concert ever, Black Oak, Arkansas, with Ruby Starr, and yes, Ruby Starr was all woman at the time because we were right on the front row. Anyway,
Donnell Blair said that Grand Funk was a big influence on Van Halen. I think he's more than an influence. I think that David Lee Roth was basically doing the exact same shtick as Jim Dandy.
Big time.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Really, yep.
There we go.
Yep,
there you go.
Yeah.
But all those bands to me are total like cornerstones. Like you got to have some Grand Funk. That band's really important. I mean, obviously early Aerosmith. If Rocks is one of the greatest records ever written, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, it is.
That record's so heavy, so powerful. Even when you put it on to this day, the opening track off of Rocks.
Yep.
Back in the Saddle, just blow you away. Yep.
It just puts you back in your seat, So that to me was what started even my heavy metal, foundation, because all those hard rock records, and even the first really big show I saw was '78, and I saw Sabbath with Van Halen supporting, Sammy Hagar opening, and Boston was the headliner. So that really set me on my path, and like a couple 2-3 years later, I was seeing Maiden at Anaheim Stadium on the Number of the Beast tour, but it's right when that record, like maybe it'd been out about a week, so, and I missed them like an idiot when they came through with UFO and they still had Shanker on guitar. One of my biggest regrets is not going to that show. They played the arena. It was the Killers tour and they were supporting UFO.
I just literally got this in the mail this week.
That band they kicked my ass. All that early Aerosmith stuff to me is incredible. Everybody
Italian pressing.
It's amazing.
And then there's Japanese collection.
It's funny how some people don't realize how much they were influenced by James Brown in the early days,
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, they even they didn't hide it.
But it's such a great band, they're still one of the greatest rock bands of all time.
And Joey Kramer was a huge funk drummer. I mean, that was his biggest influences.
You can hear it in his drumming for sure.
Yep.
So where do we go from here? You guys had all this crazy cool shit.
But see, we're talking. But see, that's the thing, Katon. You think we got all this cool stuff, but we're talking to you, and so we're doing the same thing. We're pulling our hair out. Well, Rob can't, but
No,
you know
I
what I
can't.
mean. We're so excited that this is actually happening, but to your point, this is what we do. We're just a bunch of guys sitting around the table at the restaurant. In fact, the premise for the show, Rob and I used to go to lunch every Friday. You know, he works somewhere, I work somewhere. We just get together and hang out and eat a taco and drink a soda or whatever. And we just started talking about music. And one of my friends, in fact, you probably know him, Rob McNeese in Houston. Also, he's down in Houston. He's got a huge collection. He sat in with us one time and he said, maybe you guys ought to do a show or something, like a podcast. And here we are, 174 episodes later, and we're just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're just bullshitting. Just bullshitting about music.
I think it's great though, because there are so many other people that feel the same way. And you know, that they I think also if you collect, you should show your collection. I mean, I know I have some friends that don't show anything because they're so paranoid about it. But it's like, you have a collection. You shouldn't be hiding it. I mean, obviously not everybody can get on these shows, but it's really nice to find out about records that you had no idea about. Like, I don't care who you are, no matter how much knowledge you have, you can always learn from another record collector.
Oh, absolutely. So you were asking, where do we go from here? So I will say let's go here from here.
Okay.
And then I want to see, before we get out of here in a few minutes, I want to see if anybody wants to pop up a question for Katon real quick. That would be cool if you're okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is I'm always open for questions, and I will answer honestly, because that's just the way you should be. You know, like
that's awesome. But what I was going to ask you before we get to the other questions is, what got you into metal? Because the two things that completely freaked me out when I was, 11 or 12 was Back in Black and Destroyer. And then I just lost my shit. So what did it for you?
I think we all have big records, like certain records just hit you, you know? Well, I started off, I was always kind of a kid when it came to stuff that I got into. So when I got into music, at first it was like baseball and football. I collected baseball cards, football cards, and then I got corrupted by music. And when music came in, it was the best of every world, because also I could end up making friends, because I wasn't really a total outgoing kid at first. I was one of those kids that was kind of a nerd. I still am, but it made it easier to talk to other kids that were kind of like me. And so that's my first friends were all through music. But I would say obviously Black Sabbath. I mean, if I didn't say that, I'd be lying, because Sabbath was one of those bands that made an impact in a bunch of ways. They were scary. They were heavy. I knew my parents wouldn't like it. You know, all the things that you love as a kid. Thin Lizzy got in there just because they were such a great band, and the songwriting. Like, to this day, I still marvel at the songwriting about that band. Like, I think that's what most Thin Lizzy fans have in common. We know how good of a songwriter, especially Phil Lynott, was. Like, he was a poet. He was a bunch of things. He was a triple threat, you know? And to even be able to play the bass lines that he played and sing, that's ridiculous. Like, you know, so Thin Lizzy, Sabbath, Van Halen were the local band. So, like, you know, we were already listening to demos that Rodney on the Rock was playing on the radio. And then we got into the bootlegs, because back in the 70s and 80s, you could buy bootlegs. Like, you go into a record store, there'd be a little section that wasn't supposed to be there, kind of on the down low, and you'd buy bootlegs. And there's even a Van Halen bootleg from 78 where they're playing at Anaheim Stadium. That I was at that show. And believe it or not, I was standing next to the bootlegger. So at the end of the show, when you hear the tape rolling at the end, you can hear me talking. If you hear this young kid going, "That was fucking rad," that was me. You know, and when I heard bootleg, I couldn't believe it. I thought I was tripping, you know, because I'm like, I remember saying all that, and the dude that was bootlegging it was right next to me. So the Van Halen 1978 bootleg of them at Anaheim Stadium supporting Sabbath, so like those bands have stayed with me. I mean, the first Van Halen album, the guitar tones on that record, to me, are probably the most important guitar tones besides, say, the first Montrose album, because the first Montrose album to me is a master.
Gold. Yep. Yeah. And he never touched, and Sammy Hagar never did anything as good ever again.
I agree. The only thing I will say, though, is there's a song on the second record called I Got the Fire.
Yep.
Great song.
That tune should have been on the first Montrose record as far as I'm concerned.
Maiden did a great cover of that.
Yeah, but all those, Maiden killed it. Especially the live version on Live Plus One. That version's amazing. But so those bands, Sabbath, and then Priest. Let's not forget Priest.
Of course.
There's a live recording. Speaking of live recordings, there's a live recording from the Mud Club. I think it's 1978, somewhere around there, right around the Killing Machine, Hellbent for Leather record. But yeah, Priest was a very important band. When I heard Genocide and Tyrant, Sin After Sin, Rock and Rolla, those records changed my world. So that's kind of, pretty much what got me into it. But before that, I was listening, like most kids, radio music.
Yep.
Besides even, say, Grand Funk, I'm a huge Sly and the Family Stone fan. So, there's, different stuff. Like, as you're growing up, you don't start out the heaviest kid. A lot of us grew up on John Denver and the Carpenters, believe it or not, so it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I was such a huge radio fan because back then the DJs could pick the music and they would pick the stuff that they liked and play it, especially at night. And so I heard about so much stuff. And once rock started happening for me, it got even better. And then once metal started happening, listen to all those late night radio shows. And it's like, oh shit, who is this band? Metallica. What the hell is this? This is the heaviest thing I've ever heard in my life.
And that was when we used to record off the radio direct.
Yep.
You had to be quiet so it wouldn't get on your tape. You'd be, shh, be quiet, man. I'm trying to record this, So, yeah, a lot of the stuff we got off of the radio, whether it was KMET or KROQ. I mean, even Rodney was playing Runaways demos. He was playing Van Halen demos, and I love the Runaways. So, fortunately,
I'm a Runaways fanatic as well.
Yeah, I got to see them in '78, and I was never the same after that.
I bet you weren't.
Yeah, I had the biggest crush on Cherry. I had the biggest crush on Cherry Curry when I was a kid.
Yeah, mine. Believe it or not, I don't know what it was, but I always loved Joan Jett. It's just something about her back in the day. Probably because she was kind of the tough one. I don't know what it was, but still, obviously, Cherry Curry. You'd have to be blind not to know how pretty she was. But
yeah, and Lita Ford was a looker too.
They were probably the first real rock and roll girl band, if you think about it. I mean, I know there were other girl bands, but when you think about Ballsy, besides, say, even Girl School, the Runaways were pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, they were a heavy rock band. Yeah, no doubt about it. And yeah, Girl School's pretty close in style to me, but they got that kind of punk attitude to them. I love Girl School, especially the early stuff.
Oh yeah, that band. Seriously, I saw them at the Whiskey A Go Go first U.S. tour, and they blew me away.
Man, you were in the scene, dude. God, that's
I look at it now. I got really lucky. I mean, I'm glad I was there, but I was just like, we didn't know that this was going to happen. We didn't know 40 years later, people would be saying Raven's great, or they'd be saying Girl School was great, or they'd be saying even Motorhead. I mean, they were kind of outlawed, band when they were coming up. Most people were scared of Motorhead in the beginning, or they didn't quite even really like them. I remember people saying they didn't like them.
Yeah, I read a review back in the early 80s, must have been like 1980, 81 or something like that. And it said that Motorhead was the worst band ever. So I'm like, who's this? I got to find these guys are the worst band ever. That's how I discovered them.
Yeah, I just remember they were awesome. And then I went and saw them open for Ozzy on the Blizzard of Oz tour. It's actually they were called Blizzard of Oz. And they blew me away. But I remember my ears rang for 2 weeks after that. They were so fun. And Motorhead's probably the band I've seen the most that has made my ears basically bleed. But such a phenomenal band. That's a whole nother episode talking about Motorhead. But
every time I've seen Motorhead, I've taken earplugs with me because I knew.
Yeah,
I've seen them enough times to know they're going to destroy your ears.
Totally. And even when me and my wife did the statue for the whiskey, for the rainbow, when we did that, we did it because I felt like I owed Lemmy, just because I think anybody that was in a thrash metal or speed metal band has taken from Motorhead. So we kind of owe Lemmy, not just a debt of gratitude, but a little bit of money,
Yeah.
I know.
Man, I was too far away in North Texas. So we were trying to keep up with, radio and magazines and, I didn't even know about fanzines. You just had to look at Circus and Hit Parader and whatever you could get. And
Yeah.
occasionally, they'd have ads in the back for demos and whatever. But
those were still great magazines, though. Like Hit Parade, Cream. Cream was incredible.
Yep.
All
And
those
it's back.
magazines, they were good foundations. Obviously, the fanzines you get a little bit more dirt. Like you find out about Saxon and Sweet Savage and Angel Witch and all that Tank. But I think if you put the combinations together, which most of us did, you just you learned so much stuff. That's how you found out through the fanzines, or even Kerrang and Sound. I used to love Sound. Sounds was one of my favorites because I would just look at their charts, and if I saw Diamond Head on there, got to go get some Diamond Head.
Oh man, same thing. I heard a Diamond Head song on some late night radio show and went and got Behold the Beginning, which I didn't realize was a kind of a reissue, re-recorded thing. But that was my introduction to Diamond Head in early high school. And oh my gosh. And then when I got to see Brian Tatler from this far away, oh my gosh, you'll never get that again.
Yeah, he's in Saxon now.
Saxon now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
Whoa,
crazy.
what?
Yeah.
But I think that's such a smart move. Saxon are brilliant for doing that. Like, if you're going to bring somebody in, it should be somebody from that history, and Tatler fits it perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh, agreed. We need to get Nigel back on the show and talk to him about that. Nigel lives about 20 minutes down the road from me.
He's been on the show a couple times. Such a nice guy.
Yeah,
I have
he's such a good dude.
Before we go, I got a quick question for you. There's something always bothered me about that whole California thrash metal scene. It's always like Bay Area thrash. But there was a freaking ton of bands from LA, man. What the hell?
I love that. This is the perfect one, probably, because I know we're getting close to the ending here, but not enough people ask that question. And I'll tell you, the thing is, I love the Bay Area. They're great people, great scene, but they kind of I shouldn't say kind of. They've taken a lot of credit for bands that are from LA. And we can start with the first one, Metallica. Even though they moved up there, technically, Los Angeles band, all the way.
Yeah.
Megadeth, technically.
Slayer,
Los Angeles band.
Yeah.
A lot of the time they do that, and I get it that a lot of bands went up there to play because the scene was, bustling. It was a place to go. Los Angeles was great too, but we had problems because they weren't used to thrash metal bands yet, and also the hair metal bands were huge. So people were freaked by us. They thought we were insane. They thought we were dangerous, which probably that's true. But you could go to the Bay Area and they would accept it. And, so that scene was really happening up there. But in Los Angeles, we had tons of bands. We had Abattoir, Agent Steel, Savage Grace, even obscure Orange County bands like August Red Moon, Bitch. Mm-hmm. There's so many bands. Sound Barrier. The list.
Dark Angel.
Dark Angel. Yeah, you can't forget them. I apologize for forgetting them, but yeah, Dark Angel, definitely one of the forefathers of the thrash metal scene, without a doubt. And I even liked them even before Gene joined the band. Most people who were back in that time remember We Have Arrived, and Gene didn't play on that record, But
the first one, yeah.
Yeah, but I liked them way back and respected them because we would play with them, and it was always great when we played together. We were already drawn really well in LA. If Dark Angel and Hirax played together, it would be packed, And even some of our earliest shows, Chuck Scholdinger would be in the front row, guys like that. And so it was a very tight community. And, we were all tape trading, all over the place, whether it was Texas bands that we were tape trading with or bands in Florida like Nasty Savage and all those bands. I mean, Mantis before they became Death. And then obviously the Bay Area. But not putting the Bay Area down, I'm just saying that there should be an asterisk besides these bands like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, because LA is where they originally started out from,
Right.
So yeah, it kind of sucks because sometimes we don't get enough credit, but I don't really think we care about that. The thing about Los Angeles, we know that we've had a lot of great bands, but if you look at a lot of the movies and a lot of the documentaries, they always point to San Francisco. But San Francisco would not be the scene it is without Los Angeles. So they need to keep that in mind.
Yep. Agreed.
Hey, we did get a couple questions here toward the end of the show. So
Okay.
Donnell Blair watches the show all the time. He's down in Houston, right?
No, he's here. He's here in town in Arlington.
Oh,
He fronts a band called Pass the Ammunition, and plays bass. And I know he's influenced by Thin Lizzy, but his question is, and Donnell is African American, and he said so he's fronting a metal band. He said, "Have you ever got a negative reaction because of for being African American in the metal scene?"
Oh, he's talking about skin color.
Yeah, he's talking about that.
Yeah, no, what's great for me, I've always had a different attitude about it, probably because my dad was in the Navy for 30 years, so I've been around all different cultures. I love everybody. I don't give a shit what your color looks like or any of that crap. It's all about your what's up here, your and how you conduct yourself as a human. But yeah, I mean, the great thing about being a heavy metal dude is I was set up for any kind of that stuff because metal people have always been messed with, So whether I'm black or if I was white, being a metal person in general, your appearance, where you go, when you go into a store, you're being looked at. So I always had the attitude. And also my dad was a hard ass. So he told me at a very, very early age, not everybody's going to like you. And that's the truth, But there's been little stuff, but I never let it bother me just because I love the music so much. And there was always more good than bad, but like I said, I don't think it's just color. I think people are just dicks anyways. So you can't let them get to you, like there's going to be somebody that doesn't like the way you sing. There's going to be somebody that doesn't like the way you look. People do that on a daily basis. Even when they're stopped at a red light, watching somebody walk across a crosswalk, they make a snap decision right when they see you. But I think the best thing you can do is be yourself. And hopefully people will, like you for that. But yeah, you're going to get a little bit of shit no matter if you're black, white, yellow, purple, whatever. And I have been through some things, but they never bothered me that much. It's almost like you should think of it. That person's so unhappy with themselves. That's why they've got a problem with you. Yeah. So don't let it bother you. Just keep playing your music. Let the music do the talking. I mean, for me, I've been banging my head against the wall for years. And believe it or not, it's almost like it's just now really starting to pop off. Like
let the music do the talking.
You just gotta keep going. No matter. You have to
project.
Keep pushing. That's the bottom line. But I wish him the best of luck. I mean, if he's dealing with any of that stuff, just surround yourself with other band members that respect you and will look out for you. That's the best thing you can do.
Well, and I think surprisingly, to your point, I think that I don't see him as a black man. I see him as a metalhead. And I remember the first time I heard Hirax, color didn't matter. It was like you said, it was all about the music. So, and I have a similar background. My father was military, and he said it's never about the color, it's about the collar. And we have light green and dark green and medium green, but we're all green. So, and that's just the way it should be, honestly. I mean, like to your point, let the music do the talking and just keep headbanging away.
I think the biggest problem is you've got so many miserable people out there trying to make it bad for people that are happy, and like, if you're that miserable, why don't you go abuse yourself? It's like there's people out there that are innocently trying to live their lives and, pay their bills and buy records that they love, and I don't think
Yep.
you should be messed with. I think everybody, should just try to live their own life and just be better. I'm not trying to be Mr. Peace hippie guy, because I'm not. But
Right.
I do believe we should live and let live, and just
I
that's
agree.
really all I can say.
I
Yep.
agree. So I don't typically like to let questions from Eagles fans through, but in this case, I'm going to make an exception because Gary is a badass and he watches the show and we love him, even though he's an Eagles fan. We love everybody. Just sometimes we see things differently,
Yeah.
But he wants to know if you know, and I'm going to say this wrong. Do you know Bali Gregmar from the Roxy?
The venue, next to the Rainbow, because I used to work at the Rainbow, so maybe it's a guy from the Roxy next door.
Yeah.
On the Sunset Strip. Is he talking about that Roxy?
Yep.
Sounds like it.
I probably do. I mean, sometimes up in those clubs, everybody has nicknames, and this guy's name sounds already different enough as it is, so he might go under a different nickname at the club. But a lot of people don't know this, but the Rainbow, the Roxy, and the Whiskey are basically owned by the same people. Like, there's a couple of different people at the Roxy, but they all basically are family. So, we all pretty much knew each other, from working at those clubs. So I probably do know this person.
Okay. He says that he was LD and sound for the Roxy, and heavily involved with the Blue Oyster Cult family. He's been in the hospital in a coma for a couple years, not sure of his illness.
Wow.
So,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I don't know who that is. And then TJ Lewis says the Eagles kick ass, you dick.
Well, I guess everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Their own
right.
opinion.
That's one of the reasons I love music, because I don't have to deal with any of that sports fighting stuff. But, I get it. If you love your team, you love your team. It's just like we love our bands, and we all gotta agree to disagree sometimes too.
Yeah.
I only follow
I
only follow one sport. That's hockey, and I'm a Flyers and a Kings fan equal. And Flyers suck this year, but go Kings. They're going to be in the playoffs.
And speaking of agreeing to disagree, the question we always bring up is, have you ever heard of Osric Tentacles?
Damn it.
No, I haven't. What's that?
Okay. I would advise you to just check them out. They're not, I told Scott about them and he loves them now. They're a,
they are the best prog band you've never heard.
Somehow his mic got muted.
Prog rock, yeah. Very unique prog rock band. You've never heard anything like it. They're so cool. And they've been around since the freaking 80s, and they got like 30 freaking albums out.
I'm sure you guys have heard of Max from Canada.
Max Webster?
They're a prog band. They used to play with Triumph a lot.
Max Webster.
Was that?
Max Webster?
Yeah, Max Webster. Yeah, that band's another prog band more people should know about.
Amen.
Yeah. I'll just
send them a link, Scott.
I will.
We had to get it in.
I can't even compare them to anybody because they sound like nobody.
Yeah.
I tried to mute his mic before he started talking about Osric Tentacles, but he does it every show.
There's only one person on this panel that saw Led Zeppelin, so that's my privilege to talk about Osric Tentacles.
174 shows, and he's mentioned them 171 times.
That's amazing. So, is there any other stuff you guys, each guy, would recommend, like lately? Like it could even be a band that everybody knows, but is there a new record that you love?
Oh, 100% for me. Stone Trip from Australia. It's melodic hard rock. I absolutely love them. I hate to compare them to anybody. Yep. Definitely an 80s bluesy hard rock vibe, but very modern production. And we've had them on the show a couple times. Absolute badasses and lovely guys. Stone Trip. That's mine.
I'll keep an eye out. What else we got here, guys? Come on, throw some
stuff.
Well,
okay, I'm gonna throw out, the DFW death metal scene. There's been a return to the old school, and Creeping Death is one. Frozen Soul is about to drop a new record, and there's a band from just east of Dallas here called Tribal Gaze. And that's the three-headed monster of the Texas death metal scene. And I'm telling you, and plus, Houston has always had a heavy grindcore scene. And I know that I don't know if you're into grindcore. I like heavy music. I like Return to Forever too. I can listen to a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend Creeping Death, who's out on the road now with Carcass. That's part of that package.
Okay.
And then Frozen Soul, great people, local
great.
band. Everybody starts off as a local band, right?
Yeah.
And now those guys are touring the world. We had Power Trip for a while, and then we know about that demise. And Fugitive has kind of Blake Ibanez, the guitarist, has sort of taken the bull by the horns and said, I still want to do music. And he's got a new thing together with Power Trip guys called Fugitive that is really, really, really good. And then I would be remiss, because I did Donnell Blair's covers for his CDs.
Yeah.
Pass the Ammunition is another one you need to check out. And so those are my recommendations just from the local. Reptilian, man.
I'm still trying to pull records down while we're talking. You guys are
man,
amazing.
keep it up.
Somebody asked the question, so I'll answer this real quick. What's the most memorable show? Well, there's a lot, but one that I'll bring up was we were playing in Holland with a ton of really good bands. I mean, it was like Brujeria, heavier bands. And, it was a day where it was a little bit of rain, but we didn't know it was going to go down. But it's a pretty big festival. So we're playing, and it starts raining near the end of the set. We get done, we're happy that we got through the set without getting rained out. But right after we came off stage, it just started thundering and lightning strikes started happening. And they actually shut us. They evacuated everybody. I'd never seen a festival have to get shut down like that, because usually in Europe, it rains, there's mud, the festivals keep going. But they were so worried about people getting hit by lightning that the festival was over. So we were the last band to play, and that's I think why it stuck in my mind so much, because there were all these other big bands too that were playing with us, and they didn't get to play. But I don't know who was on our side that day, but we got to finish the set, get back to the hotel safely. And what was kind of cool, even though it was sad that the festival got shut down like that, is all the bands were hanging out, and it was so much camaraderie of everybody, just because they were just so happy at least nobody got hurt, So that's one of those festivals where you'll never forget it because of that, it going down like that. But we've been able to play around the world, and we've been lucky to play with our heroes. So it's great to play with bands like Twisted Sister and Foghat and Judas Priest. Bands that we never thought we would play with. So there's just too many memories. As you go, the more years you're doing it, you're going to have tons of great memories. But it's always been for me about the fans and going out there and meeting and also learning about stuff. Even when we're on the road, I'm always asking where the record stores are at. People will always, tell me where the great record stores are at. We've been in countries where there were days that stores were closed and they opened up the stores for us to go shop, and it was just crazy. So I'm grateful to be doing this. But I'm gonna give a shout out to a record that I love. It's not a new record, but if you're into really heavy shit, somewhere in between the lines of black metal and death metal, but such a fantastic record. I don't know if you guys are aware of this record. Hobbs, Angel of Death.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh,
This is the last record he did, and it's unreal. So if you can find it, pick it up. See if I can get the title in there.
Write it down. Yeah. Whenever you see us looking down and
scribbling, we're actually taking notes.
Yeah, we do it all the time.
I think that's correct right there.
Heaven Bled, yeah.
Heaven Bled, yep.
This record's phenomenal, and I'm sure you guys, I think it might even be there in Texas, but Hell's
Headbangers?
Yeah, Hell's Bangers or whatever, Headbangers. You can get it from them, and it's a fantastic record. I'm telling you, that record smokes balls. Seriously, it's amazing. That's one of the words I like to say when a record kicks ass. It smokes balls.
I like it.
But I highly suggest that record. Oh,
right.
A Cliff Burton question. I should answer that. he was a phenomenally cool dude. I mean, you're always going to hear that, but it's just the truth. Really down to earth. Not the loudest dude. I mean, he's kind of one of those dudes who ruled by being kind of laid back and quiet. But once he got to know you, just a really cool dude. How I bonded with him is that we both were talking about bands, and he knew that I liked Merciful Fate, but he kept saying, Cliff Burton, he's like, you got to check him out more, man. He's like, he was so into Merciful Fate at the time I met him, because I think it was right around Ride the Lightning. I went up to the Metallica house up north, and they were rehearsing still in the garage. And when I got there, I was knocking on the door, but they were so loud, I had to stand there for at least like 9 songs, which wasn't a bummer. Like, I was like, fuck, I get to hear these guys practice. They're running through everything from like Kill 'Em All through Ride the Lightning. So that's one of my favorite memories. And then when the garage door opened, I remember Cliff being the first one being like, what's up, you know? And just a really cool dude. My favorite memory is we ran down that same night. We went down to the Chinatown because Robin Trower was playing, and we all loved Robin Trower. So
another one of my favorites.
Yeah, we were in an alley drinking beer next to the Stone, which was where Robin Trower was playing. It was a phenomenal time, man. Amazing.
That's awesome. So this is my buddy Richie, Katon. I've known Richie since 1st grade. He punched me in the stomach, and I still hate him for it. But he's a huge metalhead. But the thing that he likes to do to give back to bands that he loves is he will do a complete custom barbecue, and it is 10 out of 10. So when you come to Texas, come to Dallas, you say the word, Richie will be there. He will lay out a barbecue spread like you have never had, and it won't cost you a nickel.
Amazing. Well, I do know that like once this record's done, because we've been wanting to get back to Texas for a while, because like I'm not kidding you, we've been there a few times and it's always been amazing. Did 3 to 4 shows every time we've gone through there, and we know that Texas is metal without a doubt, you know. So we definitely got to get back there. You know, it's just a matter of doing things right, because like I said, we're still an underground band, so we have to find the right people that are promoters to work with. But we're definitely into doing it, and I can't wait to get back there, actually, because Texas is always, like I said, just kicks ass. And I think everybody there is kind of like us. They're hardworking. You know, they want to have a good time, and Texas has always been like that.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here in just a minute, first of all, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you guys.
I feel like I should get a picture of us having our picture on the show. Hang on. I'm going to get this done. Here we go. Ready? Yeah, there we go. But thank you for coming on. But I want to sincerely extend this invitation. I know you know Scott, so come on the show anytime. If you want to talk about Blue Oyster Cult, come on the show. If you want to talk about Hirax, come on the show. Let's do it.
Well, I got to chime in real quick and just say, to me, this was an honor. I'm serious. Talking to all 3 of you guys, man, it's badass to talk to other guys that have the same fire in their belly for metal, you know. So, no joke. I almost want to get emotional about this shit, because I think what it is like, you know who's really into it. Like, it doesn't even take you that long if you've been a metalhead for years. Right when you start talking to people, you can tell if they really know what's up, or if they get it. You guys totally get it. So without getting emotional on you, I do appreciate it. Because, no, this shit's my life, dude. I love this shit. I've been into it since I was like 13. Like, that's when I really flipped and just got crazy about it, you know?
Yep.
I wore my Hellbent leather t-shirt, the old baseball jersey. I wore that till it fell off me. I would wear it to school almost every day. I'm sure people thought I was a freak. They're like, who's this dude with this weird ass Hellbent for leather that I don't even know what it is shirt. You know, I used to draw on my Peachy. My Peachy had the guitar players that were running. You know, UFO logos. I try to get that perfect in the KISS logo and all that stuff.
Yep.
When you talk to other people that have that same love for it, it's a beautiful thing. So thanks for letting me be a part of this. And yeah, I'll take up the invitation. I think next time, though, I'm going to get geared up for it, so I have some stuff like Scott ready to go. Because I didn't know you guys were going to be this hardcore. Like, so next time,
yeah.
Well, and by the way, We've been known to have a house party right in the living room, and we've done some recordings, and we're happy to. You can check those out on the Metal Roundtable, the backlog of episodes. But let me tell you what, you want an off day? You can come hang out. You can play the blues. You can do whatever. And I'll backline you. I've got a friend that's got all that equipment sitting at his house. We can just have a good old time.
I love
And
it.
Richie can feed you barbecue.
You'll freak if you ever get to go to his house. It's
well,
just,
I think the main thing is
it's a
just
museum.
like what metal has done for me. I think we should all stay in touch. If you've added me on Facebook, I'm gonna accept it right when I get off here, or on Instagram, and let's just keep this shit rolling. I mean, we're lifers. It's obvious. I mean, we're pushing some ages now. So
Who are you telling?
let's keep loving this shit. But man, seriously, guys, it was an honor to sit here and talk with you guys, and I'm actually blown away. So when this thing's done, I don't know if you're gonna have this thing right up when we're done. Send me the link and I'll pass it forward. Because also I think some other metalheads will probably sift through this and find some information that they can learn from it and maybe get some records that they maybe didn't have, you know.
Yep. It all goes as soon as we're done, it's all on YouTube immediately. I'll go grab the link and send it. But seriously, I mean, Scott, we have topics more than we have guests, but my favorite thing is to have guests talking about the
topics. Yeah.
And you crushed it, dude. That was awesome.
Well, I was feeling what you guys are feeling, just throwing back and forth. I don't know what the word is for it. I guess we were just lobbying back and forth, but it
Metal
was
Brothers.
I mean, the thing that freaks me out is I'm still staring at the stuff behind you guys. So,
well, come on over. Mi casa, tu casa.
It's ridiculous. And hey, much respect, because you guys also really support this shit. Like, you guys are out there buying records, telling people about records, getting the information out there, because everybody needs that shit. Like I said, you can't know everything. There's still so much to learn from, you know. But
no doubt.
We'll definitely stay in touch. And when I get the new record done too, I'm going to send you guys advances, because I'm still old school. I believe in letting that shit get out. I'm not tripping about record sales or any of that crap. I mean, there's going to be some rough mixes, so I'll send you guys the rough mixes, and then when the album's done, I'll let you know about all that stuff. But I appreciate the support, not just for my own band, but supporting bands that we love. There's a lot of kids that still don't know about Thin Lizzy, and there's a lot of kids that don't know about Tigers of Pantang and all that shit. So just keep spreading the word, guys.
Yeah, awesome. Man. Thank you so much to Katon, to Pena for coming on the show. This was so great. As we do, I'm going to give you the outro now. You could probably remember all of this. When we sign off, we throw horns. We say metal will prevail. Now, we're not quite there yet. You can follow me on Instagram at Metal Robs Records. You can follow Scott Waters on YouTube by simply searching Scott Waters. You can follow The Carcass on Instagram at Carcass John Art. And you can find Katon by just Googling.
Just punch me in there, man. You'll find me. If you got to search.
You will. So for episode 174 of the Metal Roundtable, this is Metal Rob saying, Metal will
prevail.
Gotta get an evil metal look.
Don't ever change, guys. Stay metal forever.
Forever.
That was great. All right, outro. Here we go.